Thanks so much, Jared and Gary. Well, it's hard to remember a preliminary final week quite like this one, as some of the biggest news bombshells of the season break across the competition as two games of footy loom, no less. My name's Lauren Wood. I'm joined by Glenn McFarlane and Josh Barnes from the Herald Sun. Fantastic to have both of you with us. But Josh, this Zach Merrett story just gains steam by the day, doesn't it?
It's full-blown civil war at Tullamarine, Lauren. We're witnessing one of footy's ugliest divorces right in front of our eyes, and it's getting worse day by day.
It certainly is. So I'll give you boys the latest. Our colleague Jay Clark, of course, the chief football writer of the Herald Sun, is reporting tonight that relationships have effectively hit a new low between Zach Merrett and his club at Essendon. Worth noting, of course, he is the captain. Let's not forget that. Now, Jay is reporting tonight that Merrett has been completely shattered by a claim of disrespect towards the club's AFLW players that was made in a television report last night. He reports that it stems from an extra goal-kicking session where Zach was effectively kicking, I think it was 4 shots at goal, Jay reports in that extra session, while the women's team were also training at that end of the facility. He then moved on in consultation with the assistant coach, Ben Brown. I think everyone, certainly from the Merrett camp, felt like, you know, things were sort of resolved in that particular moment. Obviously, things have blown up again over the last 24 hours. Now, they have denied the claims basically in no uncertain terms, Glenn, and really see this as an attack on Zach and, I guess, undermining from, I guess, club figures behind the scenes.
Yeah, blown up is the appropriate word, isn't it? This has gone nuclear and it's gone beyond the point of no return. We probably always thought it was in that situation, but now there's absolutely no doubt about it. He won't be at the Essendon Football Club next year. You look at the whole situation, you know, with Jay Clark's exclusive report, it must be heartbreaking for Essendon supporters to actually you know, put themselves reading through that. They must be thinking, how the hell did we ever get here? That this captain of this football club is so disgruntled, and what it is, as you said a moment ago, Barnesy, this is as ugly. I've been in footy a long time. This is as ugly a stoush as I can remember between a captain and his club, with claims, counterclaims, and all that sort of stuff, leaking and all that sort of stuff there. He's shattered by the claims of selfishness, as we know, and the statements, particularly that were put out by his teammates, Nick Martin, and also Mason Redman as well, Barnesy. So, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
It's just dwindling worse and worse by the day, and we're now counting the days until we next see Zach Merrett in public. We're expecting he will sit at the Essendon table at the Brownlow next to his, I guess, ex-teammates. That's the captain you're expected to be there at the Brownlow. And then the best and fairest is October 2.
Well, that's the one, isn't it? October 2 is the best and fairest. Is he going to be there? I think the theory was that he was going to be there, that he was pretty keen to go.
He's going to win.
He was going to win. A 6. Do you think about that? That's 6 Crichton medals.
This is the level of royalty at Essendon.
This is the level of royalty. So you've got James Hird, who's won 5. Zach has currently got won 5. You know that the 6th is coming. The only 2 above him, Bill Hutchison and Dick Reynolds, who are absolute AFL, Australian Football Hall of Fame legends. So that's the sort of situation he's at. But this has put some doubt on whether he'll be there on October 2. I hope he is, and I hope they can get their way through this situation, because it's really a heartbreaking story, isn't it?
Now, of course, he's still got 2 years to run. It does make you wonder, with all eyes on the football world, as we know, over the next fortnight, just quite how ugly this could get. Now, as you say, it has reached the point of no return as we sit here tonight. So, I mean, let's play hypotheticals here, Glenn, that he does manage to get to Hawthorn. I know they're dangling pick 8 as a potential deal that they could get done there. Now, grudge matches, we always love to see a player meet their old side, but you've got news that we might not have to wait long if Zach Merrett goes to face the Bombers.
Lock in your first grudge match for 2026, and this is going to happen as soon as round 1. We know that... as soon as round 1. So we'll have Essendon and Hawthorn in round 1, not opening round, but in round 1. They've got a gentleman's agreement. I think the gentleman side of it might have been taken out by the last couple of weeks. They've got a gentleman's agreement where they like to play Essendon and Hawthorn. Round 1, big crowd, Melbourne, you know, getting as many people. It's Essendon's home game, the flip side to next year. So it's their home game. So you think about all those Essendon supporters going there. Zach wants to go to Hawthorn. There's no doubt about that. So we're in a situation where he could be playing round 1 against Essendon, his old side, with, you know, the full force. There were 80,000 there this year, so we could get even more to that next year. So it's going to be fascinating. There's no lock-in deal at the moment, but this gentleman's agreement, both clubs are expected to put in that scenario.
Astounding to think too, and of course Hawthorn could have a premiership flag in the back pocket by then as well. Now, it is astounding to think, Josh, that The second item for us on the midweek tackle tonight is that another captain could be on the move. We've seen Oscar Allen trying to make his way to Brisbane. We've got Zach Merrett trying to get his way to Hawthorn, but there could be one out of Arden Street. Tell us the latest.
Yeah, so Jai Simpkin is the next name to add to your captaincy, rounding wheelbarrows at the moment. So he is frustrated about his midfield time. He has not put in a trade request officially, but there have been rumblings at Arden Street for quite some time that he's not happy. He's been pushed out of the centre square. So I'll read some names to you here. Tristan Cherry, Luke Davies-Uniacke, Luke Parker, George Wardlaw, Will Phillips, Tom Powell, Harry Sheasel. All of those players had more centre bounce attendances on average than Jai Simpkin did this year. He's the captain of the team, but he's not playing where he wants to be. He signed a massive deal in 2023. It's a deal that we believe will pay him more than $800,000 a year until the end of 2029. But he's not happy with how things are going.
Well, he's not getting into a position there in front of some of those guys there, is he? You can understand where North Melbourne's coming from in this sense. So the question mark is, would there be any club out there willing to entertain it, particularly on the money? Like, it's pushing up into the nearly $900,000 bracket. So I think that's the fascinating thing there, Barnesy.
Yeah, that's going to be the tricky thing, and that was something that will develop as we progress through this, whether any suitors do bob up, because this is a player that isn't getting midfield time at a team that can't win any games.
Yeah.
So while they do have a good young midfield, he's not really banging down the door with his performances at the moment, Jai Simpkin. So there's going to be a lot of, I guess, shopping around at the moment.
Were you as shocked as I was by this report? I mean, he seems like such a heart and soul player there.
I feel he is a heart and soul player. The players love him, so there's no doubt about that. The players absolutely love him. But I think now I've got to a situation where I'm not really shocked with anything anymore. It's like, where's the next explosion going to go off?
That is very true. And as I said, we haven't even got to this weekend's preliminary finals, which are ring-a-ding-dingers of their own accord. Now, Christian Petrarca, before we move on, the potential moving parts across this competition, he is the other big player who could potentially shape this trade period. Now, our colleague in Adelaide, Simeon Thomas Wilson, had a significant update on this today on another club that could be an early suitor for him.
Yeah, and that club is Adelaide. And you think about that, it sort of makes sense. They desperately need a midfielder. We saw that they were slaughtered in those two particular finals. They got really smashed in the midfield there. They're cashed up too. No Naziah Wanganeen-Miller, so there's plenty of money there in that sense. So they'll certainly be having a crack at Christian Petrarca. He could have been a captain if he, if things had gone the right way. He might have been sharing it with Max at some stage. We know last year he wanted out at the end of last year. He's not as sold on it this year, but he would be open to entertain offers if the right offers were there. And certainly Adelaide's the one.
Figures in the industry I've spoken to this week are pretty clear. This is the last time, really, I think, for Christian and Melbourne. If Melbourne's going to get any sort of value back, it's this year. He's coming off a second place in a best and fairest. Had an okay year, not a great year, but you can only imagine the performances are probably going to dwindle as his age goes up. So if he's going to move, it's best for him, and it's probably best for Melbourne to do it now.
It's a horrible dance, isn't it, that comes at this time of year. And this, as I say, is the second consecutive year that they've had this at Melbourne. Surely they cannot go through this yet again with Christian. So we'll follow that one closely. Now, Josh, another leader that is being circled, of course, is Lachie Neale, who is potentially still in contention, which you'll tell us about in a moment. But you can tell us that he isn't going anywhere, the co-captain.
Yeah, we can squash one of them at least. This captain isn't on the move. So his manager, Tim Lawrence from TGI, went on the record with me today, and you'll read it in tomorrow's Herald Sun and on Code Sports right now, that there is absolutely nothing to the talk about him going back to WA. That's been doing the rounds quite a bit. There is no interest in going back to West Coast. There is no homesickness with him or within his family. So he wants to stay at Brisbane. And what he wants to do is play in a grand final. That's what he's working to at the moment. Our Queensland reporter, Cal Dick, said he did a running session today. Could you believe? Only a couple of weeks after that calf tear. And what we can reveal to you tonight is it's not just a hyperbaric chamber that we've heard a lot about. It's red light therapy that he's doing at the moment.
Red light therapy.
So if you haven't heard of that one, Mac, and you don't do it back at your home at Diamond Creek.
No red light therapy.
It's supposed to heal muscle and get you back on the park. So he's doing everything he can.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
He still says it's a long shot, but perhaps Brisbane's coming around. We had a look at the injury report earlier today. Before today, he was listed as out for the season, no chance. Right now, he's listed as a TBC, Lachie Neale. So the door is slightly open.
Maybe some convincing he's done there on his coach. I mean, would you take the risk? I think you probably would. He's a two-time Brownlow medalist.
Very, very good player. And he plays through pain. We've seen it. We saw him in the grand final last year. He was outstanding. Almost won a Norman Smith medal, and he could barely walk after it, and he couldn't walk for 3 days.
It's crazy to think, isn't it, that he could potentially... Obviously, they've got a bet past Collingwood, which is no mean feat, on Saturday night. Now, take us to Tassie, Glenn, because Nathan Buckley, as we know, met with the Devils hierarchy today about their potential coaching position, should they get that licence notice. But what actually is the timeline for their decision?
Yeah, that's the interesting point, isn't it? The timeline, we're still waiting because we they don't have a licence at this stage to actually offer Nathan the job. He's clearly their preferred candidate at this stage. They will speak to other candidates. They want to try and, look around the marketplace and see what's going on. But clearly Nathan is the man to, to potentially take. And I think he'd be a great appointment. He met with Brendan Gale, the footy director Alistair Lynch, and the president Grant O'Brien, to discuss the role and to sort of work their way through it. We're looking at, as our colleague John Ralph reports, we're looking at around about an appointment later this year, but it might be that appointment is more as a consultant for a short period of time, which actually might suit Bucks. He can still do some of his other roles in that sense as well. So we could have a decision, but not, he wouldn't be working full-time on it until potentially, next year, towards the late part of next year.
You followed the Tasmania story really closely, Josh. It feels like this is a really formative time. We've got the Tasmanian Planning Commission report that's due tomorrow, which will make its recommendation, of course, on whether the stadium will come. We've got the Commission meeting on Monday ahead of the Brownlow medal, where they could, I guess, discuss it and potentially reveal some of the draft concessions. So, as we say, while the licence is yet to be granted, it is a really big few months for them, isn't it?
Yeah, and what is key is they don't have that sort of figurehead person right now to appeal to players.
That's the important thing.
Colin McKercher turned down the option to be around at their first year. James Leake, another Tasmanian, re-signed recently. They need that sort of figurehead, even if it is a consultant, Mac, that can say, I'm going to be your coach, I'm going to guide you in the right direction. They have a good recruiting team in now, but they need someone to sell that dream.
Well said.
Now let's take a look at Collingwood, of course, Nathan's former team, who are in action on Saturday night. There's a question mark over a few of their key stars. Now, Jeremy Howe is one of those. He sat down with the boys on AFL 360 a short time ago. Here's what he had to say about his complaint.
Thankfully, everything's been ticked off to this point in time. We've obviously got another session on Thursday. We'll all have one element of assessment, no doubt, that Wadey will have in store for me, but all things are looking pretty positive at the moment.
Well, it's all very optimistic, isn't it, Glenn? It's looking like he could be the one to come back into that team. He's such a vital player. You'd almost have to risk him.
He's crucial, isn't he, Barnesy? Like, in a sense, they need him to play. And he got through last Friday. He had a really strong session last Friday and, again, watched again today. He was outstanding. How important is he, Barnesy, to this group? Yeah,
well, numbers don't lie. I mean, his fitness is going to be key. But according to the champion Jada Superstars, when he's played this year, the 15 games he's played, at least 50% game time, their defence is 10 points better off, as you can see right on your screen there. And that win-loss record of 14-1. It's hard to argue with that if you're a coach and wondering whether we should play him. He just organises the defence so much better when he's there. He knows exactly where everyone goes. His voice is so important. The defenders speak about that quite a lot. So he's a crucial part of this backline. And if they're going to win the flag, it's going to be off the back of their defence.
Now, Macca, I was driving down Olympic Boulevard today and I looked across and I thought I saw you there track watching, obviously keeping a very close eye on not only Jeremy, but the other two being Bobby Hill and Brodie Myercheck, who's had that toe complaint over the last couple of weeks. What did you see?
Yeah, it was a bit of a flush session, so it wasn't a really hard session today, so we didn't really gain a lot of it. But what I can tell you is that Bobby Hill is more unlikely than likely. And when I say that, he's still, conditioning-wise, he still looks like he's lost a fair bit of weight in that sense. So lost that little, really lightened off, which is not necessarily always a good thing. But he was energetic, he was moving really well in that sense, and I think the players were getting around him as well. But I don't think they'll select him in the end. It's 86 days since his last full game. And when you're bringing in Jeremy Howe, who's had his own challenges, and that's fantastic news. He smashed it the last couple of training sessions, Jeremy Howe. That just complicates it, I think, for Bobby. The good news with Brodie Myercheck is that he was out there in the match sim session, and I think you'll find that he'll definitely play, so I think that's a really good thing for Collingwood.
Now, he is one who is obviously out of contract in the next few weeks as well, depending on what happens, of course, this Saturday and, as they hope, next Saturday afternoon at the MCG. Now, there are a few of them running out in this prelim final, which is a sort of unique scenario for Collingwood, isn't it? I mean, we've got Mason Cox, we've got Jamie Elliott, Brodie, as you say, and, of course, a few others floating around there too for Collingwood to deal with. Now, what is your take, particularly on Mason Cox, who I think we were saying here on the desk last week, I think he was sort of telling family members that might have been it, but it might not quite be the case.
I think he's actually warming to maybe getting an extra year. His importance, particularly at the right time of the year, always sort of helps him out there. And I ran into his mum and dad down there today. They got off a plane at 5 o'clock this morning and they were straight to training by 9 o'clock. And Phil and Jeanette, they absolutely love it. They're here all the time. And the boys are arriving later in the week. His brothers are arriving. So he's pushing really hard to try and get that extra year. He'd love to stay at Collingwood. I think another other club would certainly come for him if it wasn't going to be at Collingwood. But he is firming at Collingwood. Jamie Elliott's the one that's fascinating for me. He's been courted by Gold Coast. He's had a contract on the table for a long time, and that always worries you a little bit. I think Collingwood are really hoping that the closeness of the group will keep him together. But that Gold Coast scenario is interesting. And Brody Mychek still hasn't got a deal for next year. He's always played on peanuts, really, in a lot of ways. Yeah. He's always given great service. So, yeah, I think the Collingwood supporters would love him. Melbourne are interested and desperately trying to get a forward. So they're going to be a big watch over the coming weeks.
Now, another bloke who is a big watch when it comes to big finals, of course, is Steele Sidebottom. Now, you've caught up with him last week. He's almost taken on a new lease of life this year. It was remained to be seen whether he would make it through this season, but geez, the end's not quite in sight for him yet.
Well, he's 34 and he wants more, so I think that's really good. He's a chance now. Like, he's got a deal already for next year. He's a chance, and he really would love to be able to play on in 2027. I reckon he'll play for Kingupna when he's 58. He'll still be playing there, Steele Sidebottom. Collingwood were one of the clubs that hadn't had a 400-gamer until late last year when Pendles got there. So Steele almost thought he was in a bit of trouble at the start of last year. He's kicked back really strongly and would love to play on for another 2 years. It'd be great.
He's become a bit of an Iron Man. 9 out of the last 10 seasons, he's played at least 20 games still. So he just plays week after week and pretty high level still.
And I just think at some stage, when he's not a midfielder, he would be an exceptional forward and he could kick you 40, 50 goals a season just playing in a forward pocket.
It's quite amazing, isn't it? I know Collingwood CEO Craig Kelly spoke in recent weeks about the advancements in sports science. I mean, you mentioned Scott Pendlebury there. He's another one who I think, 37 or something, and closing in on the games. 8 games off the
record. He's only 8 games off.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive occasion for Collingwood next year. But it's just an incredible testament, isn't it, to the advances on the science front. But as I say, all eyes for them are on Saturday night. Now, all eyes of the footy world will be on WA when it comes to February 14. I don't know how you'll be celebrating Valentine's Day at home, Glenn, but that is the game. WA taking on Victoria, State of Origin. I mean, we've all been absolutely hanging for it to return. It's been, I guess, a real pet project for Andrew Dillon. It is officially on, but now I want to know some details. What is it actually going to look like?
We'll learn some more in the coming weeks, but we've delved a bit deep in Moneyball for tomorrow and had a good look. I think the player's going to be paid between $10,000 and $20,000 in that sort of bracket, which that sort of makes the players want to get out there and play. It might not make
want to get out there and play.
make me too, but it might not make the clubs and the coaches all that keen. But speaking of coaches, the AFL wants to have current day coaches to fill those slots. So when you're looking at that, you're looking at someone like a Chris Scott or a Sam Mitchell would be really interesting in that sense. And from the WA perspective, you're looking at Justin Longmuir or Dean Cox. One other little interesting tidbit: they want a Teddy Whitten. Like, they want to sell this game. They want the next EJ Whitten. So he'll be a chairman of selectors. But really, what you are is a chief spruiker. One I'd be keeping an eye on, I reckon, is our own Gary Lyon as a potential chief spruiker for the Vics, and maybe Glenn Jakovich for the Western Australian team.
A couple of good names there. I had a look back at the 2008 team. That was sort of a semi-State of Origin, we'll claim it. And the only 2 senior coaches who played in that match were Sam Mitchell, starting in the centre for Victoria, and Dean Cox in the ruck for the All-Star team.
He's giving us a hint there.
Those 2 seem to be in line to me. A couple of others who are not senior coaches, but I would keep an eye on. Joel Corey's an excellent assistant coach. Probably wouldn't like the limelight of being the senior coach, but he would represent WA really well. And James Kelly also played for Victoria in that game as well, and he's coming through the ranks as an assistant at miles an hour.
Now, I'm going to put you both on the spot. Just before we get to the break, who is your first picked player for Victoria in particular?
Gee whiz, that is putting me on the spot.
That is putting right on the spot.
What are we? Pete
Marcus
Danger?
Bontempelli.
Yeah, I would say Marcus.
Yeah,
without
and Paddy
words
Cripps
in your mouth.
I've jumped in early, and Paddy Cripps.
Cripps has to be for WA. I think Nick Dacos is hard to look past, isn't he?
Yeah, potentially 2 skippers in the making. Now, we've got plenty more to come on the midweek tackle. Josh Barnes has wandered in with a prop too, so we'll have a look at that. But, of course, the Tune squad made their name in Space Jam, but there's one brewing at Geelong ahead of Friday night's prelim on Friday night. We'll take a look at exactly what that entails right after this. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to the Midweek Tackle. As we know, all roads lead to Friday night, an absolute blockbuster between the Cats and the Hawks. And Josh, the soundtrack has been locked in for the last few days. You have clocked in on Geelong's music plans for pre-game. Tell us about it.
Nothing is more important than the music you listen to just as you go out to run out for a big preliminary final. And Mark Blixarves used to be the man at Geelong for a couple of years there, was the only DJ they had pre-game, and things changed. He gave up the reins earlier this year, gave it to guys like Bailey Smith, Shannon Neal. He said Bailey Smith was too eclectic, didn't really work. Shannon Neal's too into his DJing stuff, didn't really work. So he's pulled back control. Him, Connor O'Sullivan and Max Holmes have taken control for the prelim final. They like a bit of Conor McGregor walkout music, as we heard before the break. So that's what they're into, and that's what they'll be doing. You can read all about that one in the next couple of days on Code Sports.
Tell you what, it is big business. Big business, of course, is on the injury front at Geelong with Reece Stanley. I can tell you tonight, boys, he has made stunning strides in this recovery from this hamstring injury, Glenn. He has a chance to play. He is facing a fitness test to play on Friday night. So, as we know, the Geelong injury report, read into that what you will throughout the year, but that had him listed last week as a 1 to 3 week proposition. Now, I was down at Geelong last week. He was very gingerly walking laps, and I must admit, when I watched him doing that alongside a medical staffer, I had my doubts significantly, but I can tell you their main session was today. He got through that, as did the entirety of the team. They were all out there for the main session, of course, away from prying eyes, and it's completely shut away there. But it is quite incredible to think that the Tall could be in contention to face the Hawks.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just incredible.
Chris Scott said after that qualifying final, if he plays, he would be in our team. So there is question marks whether he replaces Blixarves, or they're happy with him, but they're picking him if he's available. Macca, it's going to be an interesting game for one Hawk in particular that Friday.
Yeah, this is a fascinating one. I love a good trade quirk leading into a final, particularly a preliminary final. And James Warper will come up against the team that he's likely to join next year. So he's had an offer on the table for a number of months now from Hawthorn, and he's put that aside, not interested in signing that. And we know that Geelong's been really heavily into him. So I think it's a fascinating look of how he goes against the midfield that he could be joining next year. So that's a big watch on Friday night.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, if Hawthorn do progress, naturally they make the grand final. One man who is set to appear on grand final day, of course, is one of your favourites, Glenn.
Snoop Dogg. This is what I've been waiting for.
Well, it just raised the question in the newsroom, and we know we like to look at things through a media lens here on the Midweek Tackle of what is his week going to look like. So I've made a few inquiries today, Josh, about what his week will look like. I can tell you that
he's going to talk to us.
Well, this is the question that I'm wanting to ask you. The AFL are set to meet with Team Snoop Dogg tomorrow. They'll have a number of meetings mapping out what his week is going to look like. There were rumours that it was going to be a little bit of a FIFO from Snoop, that he'd fly in maybe Friday, quick DJ set in Melbourne, do the game and get out. They are confident that won't be the case, that he will be on hand to do the traditional sort of sound check on Thursday. Now, what his media commitments look like, because as we know, the last few years, Robbie Williams, Kiss, Katy Perry,
they've been awesome.
They've totally hammed up the pre-sort of match press conference with waiting media. Robbie had a bit of fun and talk about souvlaki's and things like that with Gil McLaughlin. That's exactly right. A lot of that stuff presenting of jumpers with names on. But they are still working through whether Snoop is going to take questions at that press conference, because as we know, there's been the string of controversies that
there are plenty of questions to ask too, Lauren, I think, aren't there?
That's the thing. We haven't typically had an artist that has been in the news quite like Snoop Dogg. So we'll keep a very, very close eye on that as he prepares to touch down under. But Josh, I can smell something emanating from under the desk, and it smells magnificent. We know you love a prop here on the Midweek Tackle, but you have hit the road, the old gumshoe journalism today, and you've discovered a pizza named after a preliminary finalist, no less. Tell us.
This is the most important story of preliminary final week, without a doubt. So I was intrepidly working away during the week, spoke to Billy Frampton at Collingwood Media Session early in this week and revealed that he has a pizza named after him. So after I said that, everybody in the newsroom crowded around me and said, you have to go down there and go to Freddy's on Chapel Street, Windsor. Got myself a Frampton Alley, as you can see here. Delicious. It is modelled on a capricciosa. The ingredients you'll see coming up on the screen right now. Extra olives. Billy Frampton loves olives. Designed by he and his partner, Sydney. There is one other pizza named after a footy player on that menu, the Spud Regis, after Danny Frawley, the co-owner, is a massive St Kilda fan. His name is Danny as well, and he'll be watching, and he's a massive Saints fan, also a Collingwood fan now. And I'm a big fan of this pizza, Macca, so I'm going to hold
Give it a whirl. Give it a whirl. Come on.
It's preliminary final week, and I may as well get stuck in.
Mate, dig in. Olives or no olives, dig in.
All about it. So this is...
Here's to you, Billy.
This is a good way to end the show, I think, guys.
I think that's perfect. Two of my great loves combining, of course, food and footy. We've got to go because we've got a pizza to tuck into. You can catch all of the latest footy news at codesports.com.au. We'll see you there.